So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Debate Club. So, the Debate Club is a platform where we all engage in healthy debates and discussions every week. And every week we have a different topic for the debate. So, the topic for this week is forced psychiatry should be banned as suggested by the UN. Agree or disagree? So, there are two stances here basically, and you could also opt to be somewhere in between on this discussion. So basically, for the pro stance, people argue that forced psychiatry is a violation of human rights, and the UNHRC, which is the United Nations Human Rights Council, has condemned forced psychiatric treatment, and it has labeled it as a form of torture, which is cruel and inhuman. And it has also called it a form of degrading treatment. So there is also a point where, in case there is some kind of forced psychiatric procedure implemented on a person, it could also lead to long-term psychological trauma, which again is a kind of torture, if you will, because you are basically inflicting something that might be traumatizing to the person on whom it is being inflicted upon, right? And then there are also legal and ethical concerns. So basically, it is to say that forced psychiatry is a form of violation of rights of people who have psychological or psychosocial disabilities. It strips them of their legal capacity to consent to such treatments. So it is labeled as cruel because of all such things by the UNHRC. And then there is also the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, also abbreviated as CRPD, which recommends prohibiting coercive practices when it comes to psychological or psychiatric treatment of individuals. And then there is a constance that forced psychiatry should not be banned because sometimes there is a medical necessity and forced psychiatric interventions are sometimes necessary for the safety of individuals. Whoever that was, please mute your mic. Anilita, could you please mute your microphone, please? All right, thank you. So in the constance, there is the point of medical necessity where sometimes you know, people are observed with such psychiatric conditions where they could potentially harm themselves and the people around them. In such conditions, forced psychiatric treatment becomes a necessity to ensure the safety of the person suffering from the said disorder or disease and the people around them. And then there is also the argument that the existing legal frameworks protect people from, being tortured or being treated in an inhuman manner when it comes to forced psychiatric treatments. And then there is the uh, argument of treatment efficacy, where when these psychiatric treatments are administered involuntarily, they are able to treat otherwise untreatable conditions because sometimes a person may not be in the right mental state to give consent for such treatment. But sometimes the treatment is absolutely necessary for that person's own well-being. In such cases, there is the argument that such things become very necessary. And when it again comes to the legal frameworks that exist, it is only argued that such legal frameworks protect individuals from being mistreated during such procedures, but for psychiatry, again, should be a last resort in case the treatment is absolutely necessary, but the person is not mentally in a place to consent. And then there is resource allocation, where banning for psychiatry could lead to challenges in managing individuals who have severe mental health conditions and may not consent to treatment. And then there is the ethical dilemma of balancing the rights of such people and providing them with treatment, along with balancing such things with consent and human rights violation, etc. So, with that context in place, we will now be starting the debate, and people who wish to speak first will have to raise their hands using the reaction button. Prince, please go.
Yeah, thanks, Rose. So first of all, I'll just say that you rightly pointed out all the said facts, and you also brought up the point where UN himself has said that forced psychiatric interventions, when committed against person with psychosocial disability, satisfied both intent and purpose required under Article 1 of Convention Against Torture. So it is notwithstanding the claims of good intentions by medical professionals. And uh, additionally, to the con side, you rightly said that sometimes it is important that we do what is good for the other people. So, I mean, who is the authority who's deciding what is good for this said patient or not? As in, do we have a specialized authority, or the people in the medication field have kind of a discretionary power to decide where they can do the forced psychiatric treatments and other procedures? One more common method that's used in this forced psychiatric treatment is forced medication. And no matter what the claim could be, uh, this is just outright humiliation of human rights, that you are forcing someone to eat a specific medication that they have not consented to. I mean, let's say if something does go south, then who's responsible for it? Do we have proper rules in place to make sure that the people who did those forced medication are put into trials, and they get served if anything goes down south? Or uh, does the life of these people suffering from these sociological issues or psychological issues rather are not as important as commoners? So is it not directly dehumanizing the people who unfortunately are suffering from uh, some mental issues? And this could, I mean, this use of forced medication on psychiatric wards to contain this mentally ill patients who are violent towards, in some cases, themselves or others, uh, a while makes sense, but uh, I don't think it should be done without consent, because, as we all know, these psychological medications could bring up different aspects and traumas in different individuals. So, are we doing them more harm than good by bringing those trauma and making them go through and kind of tackle those kind of situations? Let's say if a person is not interested in uh, those uh, uh, those psychiatric treatment, then I think we should give them basic human rights of at least not forced medication. If you do believe that the said person is harmful to themselves and others, then put them in seclusion or put them at a place where they can't harm themselves or others. But I don't think we should force any form of medication or treatment upon them because we think that it is good for them. I mean, who are we to decide for them? Yeah, Rose.
Right. Thank you so much, Prince. Your points definitely make a lot of sense. Like, definitely, we cannot decide for others how they want to be treated for whatever said medical condition they have. Right. But then there is also the point where I see Keshav in the chat. Keshav, if you want to say something, you could raise your hand and then I'll let you. Wait, was it Keshav? Yes. Okay, I see Rishi. Rishi, please go ahead. And Keshav, you can be next.
Yeah, no issues. Let Keshav proceed. He said first, no worries.
I don't know what's
So
up.
yes, yes. Am I
Are you
audible?
not able to raise your hand, Keshav?
Actually, I'm in phone, so I tried. Is it not showing?
You can
Oh, okay, no
see
problem.
reaction. The reactions button is on the right to the chat,
Yeah,
and then there's
it's
a raise
right
hand button.
beside the chat. Yeah.
Okay, I think
No,
it's
it's
clear
okay.
now.
You could just go ahead now, and the next time you could just raise your hand.
Okay, okay. So as uh, as he is talking about human right violation, I think uh, I remember a case of Mr. and Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway case, if you remember. A famous movie also made on that. So in that, she was she was following the Indian culture only, right? But they think that it's a human right violation and the children are not treated properly. So I don't think that uh, children are on that mindset to decide what is right or wrong for them. So there can be other people who are much experienced, and there is not like every time they will be traumatized. So when someone is treated without their consent, I understand it can damage their trust in healthcare, but it's more likely if we talk, if we encourage them or talk about their feeling, and if we can make them agree to the treatments without forcibly hospitalizing them, it's way better than doing all these things which make them feel like they are punished rather than being helped. Yes, that's my point.
Thank you, Keshav. I think I know of the movie as well, right? Where the woman is, accused of mistreating her kids, like the one with autism, and then the case is
Yeah, yeah,
fought in India and the custody is given back. Yeah, that was very interesting. I think that was a point of uh, cultures having disagreements, I guess. Like, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I understand the context, and this could be very true, right? Uh, yeah, yeah, that
yes.
makes a lot of sense. Like, you've started a very nice, I think it was a very great opening statement, and I think we could all apply the context here and think about what our perspectives are on this, right? Thank you, Kesha. Rishi, you
Thank
wanted to go ahead?
Oh yeah, hi Prince, hi Keshav, hi Rose. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
yes, yes, you are.
Fantastic, thank you. First of all, this was topic was so new to me. I was like blown. Like ऐसा भी होता है क्या करके? I had no idea like such kind of things are also there where there's some legal challenges. But let's be logical. Um, Consent is only applied for stable mind when they are already into some kind of pain like psychological issue. How will they? How are you sure that they are taking the decision at a very correct way or with correct thinking? So it's a response. It becomes a responsibility of the society collectively to do whatever best it is for them because they can't think about it. So bringing this thing, whether what they will feel and all those things doesn't make sense. So yeah, this was my whole point. I wanted to know of others, uh, but I mean I'll agree to Keshav or I'll slightly disagree to Prince. But then again, it's a whole paradox. As simple as that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Rishi. I mean, I'm kind of torn on this argument because I think consent is very important, but there are cases where, like you said, Rishi, that people may not be in such a stable mental state
Hmm.
where they are able to
Hmm.
decide for themselves. But
Yeah.
for me personally, the way I think about it, even if they are, like in a very unstable place, as
Hmm.
long as there is not a risk of them harming themselves and the people around them, until that point, I think consent still makes sense to me. Like, if they
Yeah.
become a danger to themselves and society, I think that's when that forced intervention
Yeah.
might be
Exactly.
a little justified.
Correct. That's where the boundary is crossed.
Yeah,
So
thank
that
you.
makes sense.
Hmm. Okay, Prince, I see you raising your hand. Please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I agree with everyone who have spoke before and after me. Uh, but the thing that really intrigued me was what Keshav said about that. I'm sorry, I'm not aware. I'm not aware of the name of the movie, but I've seen some sort of a summary of that. So that really talks a lot because I know. I mean, we consider someone a psychiatric if they are not able to think rationally or take decisions, which is good for first themselves and then the others. So now we can't, decide for morals as a just like this globally because there's something known as cultural relativism. I mean, there's things that are considered normal in some cultures and it is bizarre for us. Like the people of Maori tribe, they touch noses to greet each other. The baby tossing in India and in Spain. I mean, if we go and do that in France, people are gonna think we are stupid. We are trying to kill the infant or something. Same is for Dani tribe in Indonesia, where if someone dies in their family, then the women of that tribe cut one finger to kind of show grief. Now, for me being in India, that sounds very bizarre to me. It's like almost borderline sati for me. But uh, it is a part of their culture, and we can't have a SOP of when this forced psychiatric treatment can be done and cannot be done. And my main issue is, firstly, who is gonna decide that when you can force someone into getting treatment, or is it just so localized that the local people are gonna have complete discretion? Because if that's so, then we are giving almost an unlimited level of power to some people. Because recently, there was a case where in Ranchi, I mean, it's a capital of a state, where some people of a tribe, yeah, I would say tribe. Some people of a tribe, they just killed a woman because they considered him to be a witch because she said something against the higher man of those tribes. So, if we are going to give that much authority, then people are directly going to claim that she is mentally ill and force herself into some kind of a psychiatric hospital and uh, uh, force feed her enough medications to her actually being mentally unstable. So, is there a SOP on who's gonna decide? And secondly, no matter what, no matter the situation, if they are harming themselves or the others, even if they are harming themselves, then it is the responsibility of a civil society to make sure that they are placed in a safe environment where they can't harm themselves rather than force feeding them medication without their consent, as if we are some sort of superior being that can decide what's good for the whole of humanity. Yeah, Rose.
Thank you, Prince. I'll now let Rishi go ahead.
So that's correct, Prince, where you say um, there should be a limit for where, like, you can decide for others. If not, we are giving too much power to others. But here the case is not like about uh, you know partiality in society, but this is moreover like mental case here. So, like for example, if you see when childs of like maybe 2 years, 1 year, 2 year, they don't like to have medicines for any disease, so or they don't want to have food. So you've seen often mothers like force them to eat, like you'll hold their jaws, you'll try to feed them some liquid or something. Now, in that case, also the kid is not giving consent, but is mom harming him? Of course, like he might feel a certain kind of pain, maybe like a physical pain, but at the end of the day, it's benefit for the child. So, what I feel, talking about consent in this matter, will, I mean, I don't see a sense here. I hope others can enlighten.
I mean, yes, I see where you're coming from, but the example that you used of the mother and child may not be
Mhm.
the most appropriate one. I mean, I completely
Okay,
get the context, but the example just doesn't sit right with me, I guess.
okay. Why
I
would you
see
say
case
that?
here because a child is somebody who kind of, is not mature enough to decide what's good for them or not. And
Yeah, but
unless a person who this people with mental health disorders could be adults or kids, it applies to
and it
all
could be anybody,
people.
all of them, exactly. Yeah.
And
No,
most
this the
people
point was
don't feel
about
that.
the
Please
point
go
was
ahead.
about the mental condition, and the child don't have that mental, fitness or ability to take decisions. Similarly, the person suffering from any kind of psychiatric issue, it's kind of a mental challenge only, where they are not able to, uh, you know, go for a certain decision. So it's about the mental level I'm talking. So here,
Hmm.
there you forcefully feed them, do things like that. Here also, you need to take certain steps, even though if they don't like, and if
Hmm.
for their,
But for
it's for
me,
their
it's like
betterment.
really
Hmm.
important to like set a boundary here because not all mental conditions are that severe where a person may lose his or her ability to think straight or completely lose control of their body. Like those are like the chronic and severe mental disorders, and not
Hmm.
all need to be treated the same way, right? Like somebody could
Correct.
be really depressed and there might be still no self-harm involved, right? So in that
Hmm.
condition, they're still able to think straight.
Yeah.
So if they are able to think straight, I think consent becomes very valid and it becomes very important because a person who is still in a place where they can make their own decisions without
Hmm.
any external interference, I think for them consent is very important. Like their consent is very important. But in case this person has lost all control of themselves and they have been actively trying to harm themselves and the people around them, I think in that case, post psychiatry could be a little justified, not completely though.
Hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. I see Keshav. Please go ahead.
Yes. So, firstly, I would like to say that Prince has done a very good job in collecting all those data, and he, I really like the way he said that there is a case, right, when a woman cuts her finger to show the remorse of his husband die, getting is dying. So in that case, these are the cases. I think that these are rare cases, or these are not not to be considered in the same way as for psychiatry. And to support the Rishi's argument or the example he gave, I would give another example for this. Like someone is suffering from psychosis, okay, and he believes he can fly, and he attempt to jump off a building, thinking he will not get hurt. So in this case, it's totally different, because the person, actually there is a borderline where a person is conscious enough, or some beliefs he is having which is not correct. So imagine he refuses to uh, get treated, or uh, he is like disconnected from reality. And if we wait for him to agree, or maybe to uh, it would be too late to prevent a tragedy, right? So a forced treatment will be a better option here. And if we hospitalize it, or we try to stabilize him, it would be better. So Rishi was I support Rishi here, as he was saying the same, that it's not, I understand it's not only about children or the infants, it's about every age group. And if they don't have the basic conscious, then I think it's better to force thing up, and not taking the not to, supporting those examples of Prince. Definitely Prince is also right, but those examples are kind of different from this particular case. So that's what I think.
Thank you, Keshav. Anybody else who would like to speak next?
Yeah, but if anybody don't have a point, how do we fix this? Because this is kind of a paradox where you also have to consider the individual identity too. Like technically, if we say we are born on a planet, and we just have to pass a certain life phase of on this planet, and everybody got all rights, whether sane, insane, to live their life in their own manner until they are harming others. So what do we do here?
I mean, there needs to be a line drawn on where such treatments are justified and where they are not. Because, like all cases are different, but if you're going to draw up a convention or a legal policy, there needs to be some
Mhm.
level of generalization. So we need to decide where that line is and who the authority is that will decide when this line is crossed and when this forced psychiatry becomes justified. Because I think society in general cannot decide who is mentally stable or unstable unless the physical manifestation of it is like right in front of their eyes. Like somebody owing to their mental disorder trying to harm themselves and the people around them, right? Like that is
Mhm.
a physical manifestation of what's happening. But if that is not present, and you have to administer such psychiatric treatment, who decides? Like, who is the authority, right?
Hmm.
So I think that is the starting point.
You said right that society, we cannot expect society, but I think we can take input from family members or those who are around that patient. For example, those who are having bipolar disorder, uh, they if they ask like if their family member has noticed something, they could help in this, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like input could be taken from people, but again, there is a potential for abuse. Like, not all families are well-meaning, and sometimes people could be framed. So there needs to be a proper mental health authority or a body setup that could really check for themselves the signs along with the review that they get from the people around the patient, so they can actually determine whether consent can be taken from this person or that forced psychiatry is absolutely necessary.
Hmm.
I see Prince raising his hand. Please go ahead. Prince. All right. I guess Prince, you're on mute if you're speaking. I'm not sure what's up. Anyways, I think I'll let Prince be next. Rishi, I saw you
Yeah,
raising your hand. You
correct.
could go ahead.
So I just wanted to give this point. I remember from my childhood time. Um, so we had a neighbor. I'll make it quick. So we had a neighbor. He had two sons. The elder one went through some mental issue. Now, even in my family, I used to be very angry because he came one day, broke our phone and all. And those days, having landline was a big thing, and he broke the phone. We were very angry. Me as a child. Later, we got to know, like after years, that it was just an anxiety issue, which their family used it as a tool to, disengage him from the society and letting everybody know that he is, suffering from serious mental issue. So that was one good point, yeah, it can be used as a tool for to the people. So that is also a one, but it could be rarest of the rare case. Not everybody will do, but
Yeah, like, but there will always be some potential for abuse
some
depending on like the scenario, right?
exactly.
Right.
But again,
Prince.
we always see like what how much is the percentage towards 100.
Hmm.
So if we are doing
Like,
good
I think
for
that's why it's so important to have like a proper, I don't know, a body and organization set up.
Mhm.
So, like, such things are not gone unseen. More than statistics, I think when such patients are, brought into the care of mental health professionals to determine
Mhm.
whether their consent is still valid or they are absolutely in need of such treatment with or without consent, I think these people need to be there like a proper authoritative body has to be there to determine what's going on, right? Because it would be very devastating to see that such people who are already suffering from something severe or not are being abused
Yeah,
for
makes sense.
whatever
Totally makes
reason,
sense.
right?
Yeah,
Prince,
absolutely.
are you there?
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I had some issues with my.
No problem. You want to go ahead?
Yeah. So, firstly, someone said that we can have a review from the family, and that is perfectly fine. That could be one of the steps that we can take. But like rightly pointed out, the people in the family can sometimes use it as some kind of an excuse to make sure that they kind of get rid of them, because there are several cases in Special Marriage Act where people get divorced on the basis of mental health issues lines. And uh, I mean, we have seen cases where the people were not suffering from mental health issues. They were just, let's say, socially different. They were a bit introverted. They were not so outgoing, and that was termed as some kind of anxiety or depression. To get divorced on the grounds of this mental health issues. So, I mean, family could be a great first step to get to know of the people's mental health issues. But as Rose has been continuously saying, and I also have said it a couple of times, that if the person is not harming others physically or themselves, then I don't think forced psychiatric treatment should be there. And even if it is required so much, then also forced medication should not be a thing. The the people in the medical fraternity should not have an authority to tranquilize a person who is suffering from mental health issues to force feed them medicine according to their will. Also, one of the issues that arises with this forced psychiatry is not nowadays, but let's say 40 to 50 years ago, we were seeing seeing those kind of patients being used as some kind of a test tube or a dummy for seeing the side effects and testing new medication. And they were not actually even kept in human conditions. They were kept in conditions to just make sure that the people who are developing those medicines can see, analyze, and study the effect of those medicines. So firstly, let's assume that the people are not rationally good enough to decide what is good or bad for them. Secondly, you're force feeding them medication without their knowledge that what they're consuming, and in many cases, even the family members are not informed that what kind of medication is being fed to the said patient. So. Uh, I guess this creates some kind of a veil over the whole treatment, and this could lead to a lot of abuses of the patient, which is already suffering mentally. Yeah, Rose.
Right, Prince. Wanted to point this out real quick. When you were speaking, Prince, like you said that sometimes mental health is used as a tool against people who may not even be suffering from said mental health disorders, right? I think everybody knows of this movie. Like, there's a Bollywood movie called Thappad, in which there's Tapsi Pannu as the lead female character. And basically, she decides to divorce her husband over him slapping her in the middle of some kind of, I don't know, some kind of gathering. And then when the divorce proceeding is in place, the husband in the lawsuit uses her being mentally unstable as some sort of defense strategy, while she actually does not have a mental disorder at all. So, like, I don't know, when you were speaking, I was really reminded of that movie. And again, this is a very interesting point of discussion where such things could be used against people who are not even suffering from the said mental health disorder, let alone people who are suffering from it. Like, the extent of abuse that may be faced by people who are actually suffering from it is kind of unimaginable if you think about how people who are not even suffering from such things are being targeted. Like it's being used as some kind of weapon to corner people, especially legally, if you watch that movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry to speak in between, but if we are talking Bollywood, then I mean, when you were talking in the middle of your speech, I was reminded of a movie where I don't know if it's based on real incidents or not, but based on the data, it can be. That it is a scene where Alia Bhatt is seeing in a rant where she was kind of blaming her uncle for uh, abusing her in a physical way, and the best counter that the family could come up with, that you are mentally unstable, your mental condition is not well, and hence whatever you are saying is false.
Right. I cannot remember the name of the movie, but I think I definitely know that one, right? So like it's crazy how such things are being weaponized, you know. Like yeah, again, I think we'll go into a tangent if we discuss further on this, but it's really an interesting point of discussion, however. Rishi, please go ahead.
No, that movie was Highway, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Imtiaz Ali made, I
Yeah,
guess.
Imtiaz Ali
Highway.
movie, Highway. Again, here what we are discussing, I totally agree to the point which Prince was making. Um, it's just that, like, let's say even if we come ban this, like, are we benefiting more people or are we harming more people? Because in this case, it will allow for everybody, right? So these are just few cases, like out of thousands of maybe 10,000. This could be one, two, or 10 people. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, let's say even if we apply this law, or thinking let's stop the abuse. Uh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, like I got somebody, I think, on video. Give me one minute. Please continue, guys.
Sure, no problem. I mean, like that was a very interesting question he raised. Like, are we benefiting or is it just causing us more harm if we decide to ban it or let's say otherwise, right? So, anybody got any comments on that?
Like you were saying, to create, like there should be a autonomous body that should be working on these kind of issues. Do you I am not sure. Is there any research being going on, or what is the thin line? Maybe there are some tests, or the way we uh, score our emotional IQ, or we get to know our personality. Those kind of tests should be there. If you agree on this, check whether the person is conscious or is self-aware at least.
So like conduct a test with the patient that's brought in to like check what level of self-awareness they have. Right? That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense to me, definitely. I don't know if any such test exists as of now. Honestly, I'm not very sure. But then that sounds like a very practical solution to what we're talking about, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, borderline complete banning it, I guess, will not be so good. Some like Keshav rightly said, we should come up with some kind of an objective test that kind of determines that if the person is in serious need of these kind of forced psychiatric treatments or not, and if there is such a need, then maybe the best we can do is kind of restrict their freedom of movement, because in any case it I can't bring my head around to believe or accept that we should feed them medicines without their consent.
I mean,
But
I kind of
it's
agree
like
on the
better
point.
it's like better to give them medicine rather than they harming themselves. Like I told about the case in person thinking like he can fly. So in that case, they are losing their life. So I'm not saying that for everybody it should be, but for some cases, there definitely should be a better to be there. Like they were saying, right? Uh, Precaution is better. What do you say? Precaution is better than cure. Uh, I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
better to be safe than sorry.
That kind of.
What do you think about that, Prince?
I do understand where he's coming from, but again, it comes to the whole subjectivity of the issue because we all know, as of now, as far as I know, there's no proper test to kind of objectively determine whether a person is suffering from some kind of mental issue or not, or if they are suffering, then to what extent they are suffering. Uh, will they take an action to harm themselves or not? So I guess it's a very thin line that would be hard to. I do accept that it would be a very thin line uh, uh, to figure out who should be treated forcefully or not. But I guess because we are talking of mental issues, there could be other ways in which you can at least make sure to bring an individual to a place where they can decide they want to have some sort of medication or not. Because I mean, let's say I'm depressed. Now who's stopping the medical professionals to kind of forcefully feed me any kind of medication that they desire will be good for me? Even though I am sound, I can decide for myself that. And in many cases, people are seen avoiding these kind of medicines. They don't really want to eat those. That's why tranquilizing and other actions are taken to kind of restrict their freedom of movement and to feed them those kind of medicines. So again, when you're talking of Western medicines, then or allopathic medicines, then we all know that each medicine comes with a kind of side effect, and uh, if you are not taking the consent of the individual, then you are kind of uh, harming that individual's right to life, and that to me is like a direct infringement of basic human rights.
Right, that completely makes sense to me. But like talking about the same example of depression, like somebody said there needs to be a self-awareness test. If there is some form of self-awareness still present in that individual, consent is really important. But then if the a person is completely lost control of themselves and they are not in a place where they are even aware of what they themselves are thinking or how their actions may affect people around us. Like, I think this is more a common case with people who are schizophrenic, they
Yes, yes,
have
yes.
really bad hallucinations, and sometimes while hallucinating, they harm themselves as well as the people around them. In such cases, I think it is kind of justified. Like if the person has at least some form of self-awareness and they know that not getting the proper treatment might harm them and they're still refusing, I think that becomes like a thing of personal autonomy and we cannot do anything about that. But for people completely lacking self-awareness owing to their mental disorder, I think it kind of becomes justifiable a little bit, not completely. But then what needs to be done, right? For the safety of the patient and those around the patient.
Yeah, I guess a better middle ground could be that I mean, we all are speaking of exceptions because these kind of situations are not something that occurs to every individual. So in these kind of exceptions, let's say in maybe 0.1 0.2% of the cases, it is required that a forced treatment should be done. Then there should be proper SOPs established. There should be a 24 live stream of the room in which the patient is kept. That live stream should be accessible to both the hospital as well as the let's say relatives of that specific individual. And the doctor should have a proper list of medication, and they need to as a fundamental rule list them to the hospital authorities. And if any physical harm is done to the individual due to those medications, then the doctor should be made responsible for the demise of that individual, and proper criminal proceedings should be held against them. And not physical harm due to the individual being mentally insane, but physical harm due to the side effects of that medication.
Like that definitely makes a lot of sense. Like I think that's a very practical approach to it. I agree. Keshav sent something in the chat. Might
Yes,
be an
you were
interesting
talking
word.
about schizophrenia. Na? The same thing I was also thinking about. As yesterday I
Hmm.
saw this really it was interesting reel made by a foreigner. I'm not sure who is he, but he showed it very well that how things work and how these kind of people are in imaginary situations. And but again, Prince said these are like few cases, and I agree to Prince that around 90% of the cases are those which Prince is talking about. I think we maybe the percentage is differing, but I understand that case that most of the time it is taken in a wrong way, and there should be all those options which he mentioned. The doctor should be having the list of medications and all these treatment should be there. Yes.
I mean, of course, these are exceptional cases. I wouldn't say the disorders occurring are exceptional. I mean, to say that these are not as uncommon as we think, but these disorders escalating to a level where people completely becoming unaware of themselves and their surroundings. Not that I'm very sure about this, not that I have any statistical data, but I think they might be a little more, not rare, not rare. I would say like a little more uncommon than having, mild cases of such disorders. But still, like we cannot ignore the exceptions since one life or 100, it does not matter. A life is a life, right? They're equally important. And even if it's just for such exceptions, such um, policies, such procedures need to be laid down. And of course, we need SOPs. If we are not going to ban these treatments and we are going to draw a line where where in what cases these are going to be administered, so that we can ensure the safety of the patient and we can ensure that the patient is not being abused by the hospital, by the staff, or whoever it is, And then it is also really important to first draw a line between, where this is justified and where it's not. Otherwise, like there is such a huge potential for abuse. Like it may not be obvious, but it could really ruin the lives of people who were otherwise okay with or without the treatment.
True, those cases would be horrible because for that person who is aware of what's going on with him, it would be so injustice.
Yeah, and especially in a country like India, where there is so much stigma around mental health, and we see in movies and even in like in our everyday lives, like people who are just a little, I don't know, contrarian or socially just different, being labeled as insane or mentally unstable. uh, you know, um, if there are no proper guidelines on how these treatments are going to be administered, this could be a huge disaster, especially in a country like India.
Yes, true.
I mean, Rose rightly pointed out about the abuse that these mental patients could go with, and I'm just going through some of the data regarding that, and uh, it's truly amusing that whatever we were saying as observations in our society is actually true statistically as well. I mean, uh, people who are suffering from these mental issues uh, get a lot of domestic violence and sexual violence cases because I mean they are kind of uh, their defense is kind of ruined because you are already in a place where it is assumed that you are mentally not well, you cannot take decisions for yourself, and the other people, the other sane doctors are gonna decide for you. Where uh, almost every day your freedom of navigation is restricted for several minutes or an hour or so, and at those times you can never be so sure as to what's going on behind the closed doors or behind the closed bars in some incidents. And that is why when I said that an SOP should be established, live streaming was one of the first things I thought about, because I mean, these are just cases which are used to directly abuse people domestically or sexually, or for the development of new medicines, using them as test tubes. And I mean, it's really disheartening going into a mental hospital for the mentally ill patients, because you can directly see that they are not treated as humans, and it is not something so bizarre that they should be devalued. I mean, it's just the same as having cancer or typhoid or malaria or dengue. They just have some issues which have to which are related with the brain. I mean, why does it make them different from someone suffering from typhoid?
Right, like I completely agree. Like I think people view having mental health challenges as something that is just not human. I think they don't categorize it as just a disease that is affecting a human being. They completely, I wouldn't say they are doing it consciously, but the way our society is programmed since such a long time, I think people who are mentally challenged and there are at least even minor physical manifestations of such challenges being displayed by that person, I think the society essentially just scratches them off from the human category. They are just treated as some sort of garbage that is to be plucked out and thrown away in some corner. Like, honestly, it is not a very uh, good choice of words to be used in a sentence, but the reality that they experience every day is far worse than the words being used right now.
Yeah, rightly so. And due to that insensitization, I guess these kind of actions do kind of make sense, because there's a community. I would call them a community itself, because there's a community of people who are facing some kind of issues, some kind of challenges that they in most of the cases did not sign up for. It just happened. And people are already looking down upon them, and in those kind of cases it is pretty easy for them to be abused in any kind of way. I guess there should be a much more stricter rule, a much more strict rule regarding that lot of people, so that we can make sure that those kind of issues does not occur. And I do agree with a lot of people here that a blanket ban cannot be the answer, but very strict restrictions could be one of the answers to the question of for psychiatric treatments.
I completely agree with that one. A blanket ban is just not the most practical solution to the issue at hand. But if we are going to talk about solution, I think for me, I don't know who it was, whose suggestion it was, I don't remember. Like a self-awareness test of the patients being brought in is like really necessary to check whether their consent is valid, right? Because we do not want to turn people who are very much self-aware despite their mental condition or lack of, in some cases, to be completely ignored, and then they be treated as people who have completely lost control of themselves, and then it turns into abuse instead of treatment. Because we really have to accept the fact that, self-aware or not, anything being forced down your throat, uh, be it medication or any other kind of procedure that is a part of mental health treatment, it could be a cause of long-term trauma, even after you've been treated, and even if it is something that has been a lifesaver to you. Something being shoved down your throat could be a cause of long-term trauma, regardless of the fact that whether it heals you or not.
Yeah, and in this, the child example is brought that we force feed children because that is good for them, and rather the mothers know that what is good for their child or not. But there have been some kind of studies that do show that this force feeding leads to several issues into children, and in some cases it even leads to underconfidence, because it kind of shows the children that the mother is not treating their judgment of how much they can eat or and how much they cannot. By saying that, I do not mean to say that the mother should not feed their children who are like less than a year or less than 2 years old, but uh, uh, direct shoving of anything down their throat is not the best thing to do. I mean, there are ways around it. I
It's
mean,
like a more
I'm no
more
one.
dependent. Actually, the scenario you're talking about, that Miss Chatterjee, actually she was not well educated. So the problem can be resolved by just educating uh, the the person, the people who are having children, and that could be resolved by that.
I mean, there is this other concern that just popped up in my mind. I think even if there is no blanket ban and there is this self-awareness test going on, and forced psychiatry is only applicable to people who have completely lost their sense of thinking straight, if you put it like that. So I think that hospitals who are involved in such treatments and the staff involved in administering the procedures involved need to be very, very closely monitored, because at the end of the day, these are agencies running on profit, and there is a chance of overdiagnosis for the sake of churning out profit. Like, it is a possibility. Not saying it happens in most cases, no statistical backing on that, but it is a possibility. Very well could happen.
Yes, it's actually it happens a lot of time where the hospital staff ask a patient whether you are having a what we say a premium or a policy. Yes, a policy. And if they say yes, because now the policy comes in between, so they deliberately do uh, extra steps or do extra what we say treatment or measures, and to get more money out of those policies, and the person who is being treated is uh, most of the time not aware, and sometimes even if they know, they they are not that concerned, because they think that the policy people will pay the bills.
And like, I think most health insurances are for your physical health conditions. I'm not really sure about that one, but especially when it comes to mental health, it's like a lot harder, right, to understand when the overdiagnosis is happening.
True, true.
Yeah. And in this forced treatment, one thing that it just clicked my mind was the issue that's going on in England right now, where they have just passed a bill regarding assisted dying. The people who are terminally ill can decide to take their lives, and that's not the major thing. The major thing is the conditions required. The two conditions that
You are talking
ring.
about euthanasia, right? Euthanasia,
Yeah,
mercy
yeah.
killing. Okay.
So basically, the conditions are that they should satisfy two independent doctors that are eligible, and there should be at least 7 days gap between each assessment. After that, a high court judge would have to rule each time when a person makes a request to end their life. And in the case of this forced psychiatry as well, there could be some kind of a similar rule that if you want to forcefully treat someone, then you need to get that attested by two independent or three independent doctors with a set of time period between each of them, and a high court judge would kind of take the final call on whether you have the authority or that person uh, is at a level where that treatment, the forced psychiatric treatment is required. Because, I mean, by making it this strict, it would reduce the cases of hospitals trying to cash in on these people who are facing mental health issues, and trying to churn in profits.
That makes a lot of sense. But then getting the judiciary involved in India, I think, okay, I think the person would just die before the ruling comes out
Yes,
naturally.
there are so many cases pending that the convict dies before the results are judge
No,
declares the result.
exactly. Like
Till
if
at
the
least the
same
results
bill
come.
was passed in India instead of England, the person who wants to be euthanized would die naturally before the court decides something for him.
Yeah, true.
Let's make a rule that the High Court judges would be of England so that if it's more, it can be done and at a
So
greater pace.
everything like boils down to the basics, as our population is so much, and the judiciary is definitely like uh, who in in when we think of becoming someone, we generally like most of the people are becoming engineers and just getting money out of somewhere, right? But LLB or doing these kind of uh, medical work, they are quite a very few people, and they are not also feeling justice as the amount of money that is given to them as compared to someone with the same amount of hard work and doing some other job that is famous.
Hmm. I mean, the getting, attested copies from multiple doctors or mental health professionals, I think that one could work out. But then again, I think we are talking about a very special country here. There is always a chance of bribery for whatever reason.
The economist says corruption is the lubricant of the economy. So I guess it will help in our economy as well if corruption does happen.
It helps a lot already. So, I mean, that is one concern. I don't think you could really draw up a measure to stop people from accepting bribes. Like, how would you even know?
Yes, in fact, I was thinking about this. Even if like I become someone like IAS officer, and someone is giving me bribe, they do other things as well. If someone is giving you crores of amount just for keeping quiet, he can also like threaten your family or do something which is quite like you are fearful about. So it's better to take money than uh, losing your one of the close ones, right? So this is also a case.
Yeah.
I won't say anything. So coming back to the topic, I guess, uh,
Yes,
I
we
guess,
lost our tracks.
so I guess the thing that, at least what I could see is that people are fine with some kind of forced psychiatric treatments, but there should be hard or harsh rules that should be kept in place so that these these things are not misused by some people in the medical industry to uh, make the ching chings.
Right. I mean, like, I think for me, one, the self-awareness test, and in case the post psychiatric uh, procedures have to be administered, uh, getting attested copies from multiple doctors, like, I don't know what the ideal number would be. I think that could work out, even if there is a risk of bribery. Like, that could still be better than, just getting one doctor saying that this needs to be administered. I think even for the family, let's say like a perfectly fine family who is well-meaning to the patient, like I
Yeah, rightly
exactly.
so. Yeah, just to add to what Rose was saying, and I guess she can come back and complete her sentence. Uh, we need to, have these kind of structures in place, and this cannot, according to anyone, be a blanket ban. There should be layers or structures of protocols for each level. Like, if you are a level 1 patient, then you can do this. If you are level 2 patient, you can do this. And for a very minority of the patients who are a serious threat to their own lives and the life of the people in the society, we can take much harsh treatment measures. But it should not be as what's happening currently, that anyone who's remotely mentally ill should be given the same treatment as someone who's borderline
Yeah,
suicidal.
exactly. Yes, actually, yes, that's the same thing. Like, there are variety of cases. We don't know which one is the special one, right? So everyone should be treated as the like more more positive way than giving the harsh treatment of which is generally not required in most of the cases. I
Yeah, I
think
mean, we have.
I'm not sure that is there do you know, is there any survey has been done on this, or any any doctorate is have done some research paper work on this? I've not read any, but I think
Um,
there must be someone, because one of my close like I the person is in PhD in anthropology, so he's working on the uh, crime against the children which are having this criminal mindset. He is working on that kind of cases. So I'm sure that some people have done the beginning research on this kind of work, if not in India, in other countries as.
I mean, I'm trying to find out, but as of now, I'm not able to. If anyone has, then I guess they're free to share.
yeah, even if you get your hands on such papers or the like, you could always post it in the WhatsApp group. So I guess we are basically reaching a common ground where we don't think a blanket ban is practical, and we does everybody agree on the self-awareness testing? I don't know who brought it up, but credits to that person. I think that is a very, very practical solution.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally agree.
And then I think even if there is a risk of doctors or mental health professionals being bribed, I think still attestations from multiple doctors or professionals could be a better place to be instead of just getting attestation from one single doctor to administer something that is against somebody's consent just because they are not in a state where they can decide for themselves. I think multiple attestations is the way to. It's like giving the person just an additional layer of safety.
Yeah, and the more people that you involve in these kind of issues, the chances are that one of those people are gonna stand in their into their morals, and who won't be courageous enough to give every person the same dehuman treatment, because uh, people are aware that if something goes down, then their whole reputation and their career is also at risk, because they are signing a document which, if turns out to be false, can have a really bad impact on their careers.
Right. And then I think, Prince, you were the one who also brought up like making it mandatory that such procedures are at all times live streamed so people related to the patient and other authorities are sure that nothing that is
There should be
intentionally
transparency,
harmful to the
yes.
patient is going on.
Yeah, I guess to bring transparency and kind of try to minimize the abuse that goes on inside those hospitals.
Yes, and I think the listing of all the medicines and the like being used on the patient or like being fed to the patient needs to be listed out and given to both the authorities and the people who are the guardians of the patient is also a great idea. I think it could really help with the problem of overdiagnosing for the sake of profits. Like it could be helpful in that.
Yeah, and I guess this is not the end point. If the government is involved, then I'm sure they'll bring up more standard operating procedures, because the people in the government are, of course, 10 times more knowledgeable, and they have more data than what we possibly could have. And I guess if something legally binding does come in these kind of aspects, if not complete blanket ban, then I guess it would be better for the human rights issues in our state.
Right, I I guess that's our conclusion then.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Not from my end. It's
Let's
great
let's
that we are
conclude.
reaching a conclusion. One of the
Yeah.
instances.
What about you, Keshav? Anything to add?
No, no, that's fine, and I think we should conclude.
Yeah, I think this was like a very thought-provoking debate. Probably
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
it scratched my brain real good. Like one, because it was not a very familiar topic and it requires a lot of nuance as well as some sort of statistical backing to be able to talk about such complex topics, because it's not either or. It's not a case where you could say either or, right? And
yeah,
everybody brought in a lot of knowledge and a lot of great context, which really for me broadened my perspective. So thank you for that.
yeah. I
thank you
would
to you and to
especially
see our
thank Keshav
listeners.
for that movie thing. The Chatterjees, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That is a, like, if you can read more about it, it would be awesome,
Yeah, I think we
especially the
should all go
autism
watch the
case.
movie. It's the weekend anyways.
Mm.
Oh well.
All right. See you next week, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.